is just so fascinating what you've done. And what was intricate to you, intrinsic in your goal setting, was the fact that you have a group that actually supports you in this.
An accountability group.
And then every Friday you get on the phone.
By midnight.
How many
well,
people?
it's a software program. And again, we've been doing it for many, many years. And we literally, there's 3 of us and I'm one of them. So I would certainly encourage you to write your goals and have an accountability group. But don't make the accountability group too big, because it needs to, it has to be very relevant. And we've been doing this now for so many years that and these are other business owners, they know enough about me and my business now that they could probably at some point step in and run my business if I got hit by a banana truck. And similarly, I could probably do the same about theirs. And it's not the place, it has to be completely confidential and completely safe, because it's not the place that you want to make up stories or lies or, slightly bend the truth. This is, who you are, where you are, and where you're trying to get to. So, it's the time to be, you got to be, fully yourself and fully honest, and have people that are going to stick with you on the accountability side.
I think that's really interesting. So it's not a big group. I don't know why I envisioned it was like 10 people. It's a very small, intimate group. And what do you do it by software? How do you do it by software? You just kind of log in and...
There's a software program, theaccountabilitycompany.com is who we use. It's a software program, and every year on January 1st, we have to tell the software program what we're doing that year by annualized, quarterly, and then every week we have weekly action items that we write down. And then by midnight, we have to log in and say, yes, we've done, no, we haven't. And then there's a section that's subjective, why we haven't, or why we changed, or whatever the commentary would be. And then we each feed back information. Good job, congratulations, or you said you were going to do that, and why didn't you? You're not getting any younger, whatever it is that the story is. It's good. They're cheerleaders, they push, they ask the tough question. They're good friends.
It's interesting. So is this accountability project still ongoing? Anybody can go sign up.
I think it's, we went to a workshop and we paid them to do this, so.
Interesting.
It's available to anyone.
Check it out. If anybody does it, let me know what you think about it. I think it's really good. So I want to talk to you a little bit about your Georgetown store, because you've really done some clever things there. In fact, we have.
I know. My angel friend just walked in the door.
You guys call yourselves. There's 3 of you, and you call yourself the Georgetown Angels.
I love my angel friends. Yes. Well, so we moved into the shops at Georgetown Park, and I have to tell you, it was one of those business decisions where I said, you know what? If we are a destination, how much of a destination can we really be? Because nobody shops at the mall. So we moved in thinking, my premise was I get really affordable rent, and in return, I would have a Washington, D.C. zip code for my bridal market. And I have to tell you, I told my husband and my banker, I'm either going to be, wildly successful, and you guys are going to say, oh my God, you were brilliant, or I'm going to be, it's going to be just a disaster, and you guys are going to say, I told you so. And lucky for me, I'm wildly successful. We are, it's a destination for us, for our bride. However, what we're missing is that customer that just walks in and buys the gifty stuff, because nobody really walks into the mall. And so my lovely friends, Cassie and Stephanie, we went to lunch. They're fellow retailers in the mall. And we went to lunch, and I don't like to use the word complaining, but I was mentioning how sleepy the mall was. And I'm not one to complain unless I want to do something about it. And so I said, what are we going to do? We're smart and sassy. We got to come up with something. And so the Georgetown Angels were born with a mission to breathe life into this mall. And we hope that it brings, shoppers into the mall and brings us another reason to have a customer. But additionally, it's been really fun to get to know other retailers and have another peer group.
Georgetown Mall is really an interesting place, because when I lived in Texas, we used to come up here, and that would be one of our stops. They used to have an ice cream sandwich place that was in there, and our kids loved to come
Ice cream sandwich place? That's a whole business? Ice cream sandwiches?
It's like cookies, but it was like this. And I remember I had my 2 children and then my niece, and none of them had front teeth, not any, and they wanted a sandwich. I remember my husband had to start the sandwiches for them to eat them. But it's always been kind of a unique mall, but it's got promise, because there's things happening in Georgetown. So what do you think it's going to take to really get people coming in and engaging there?
Well, it took, so one of the reasons why I went there was the Business Journal did a big article about how it had recently got bought out of bankruptcy from a new firm, and this was early summer or spring last year. So I immediately told my broker, I said, there's something to this. Somebody doesn't invest in a piece of property without trying to create value. And so I knew that I had a very small window to move, which is why we moved so quickly. Vornado, who's the new owner, is going to do something. They're keeping it under wraps, so we're not sure what that looks like, but we hope that we're involved in that redevelopment. We hope that we're included in that redevelopment. We hope we are a reason, a voice in that redevelopment. So I don't know.
Yeah, it should, because I think Georgetown's such a great place to go anyway. I mean, it really is. So you're finding that brides and people are finding you there and coming in?
By the droves.
Really?
Yeah.
So the bridal business is huge.
It's a
incredible.
$90 billion business, the bridal business. Billion with a B, big numbers, big numbers. I learned that from my marketing plan.
Is it the first time bride or the second time bride or the third time bride?
In theory, it's the first time bride. Getting married for the first time with high hopes that this is the one and only time she's ever going to do it.
So and really go out. I mean, it's just this amazing. Why do you think we're so romantic? I mean, what is this thing with love? What is going on? It seems like it's emerged even more.
I think it's hope.
Oh, love is hope. Oh.
I think we all just want to be hopeful that tomorrow's going to be a better day, and you have to kind of cling on to something and be someone. I don't know. You need somebody that's your life preserver, and I think it's good. I think it's healthy.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, I encourage everybody. I know people want to ask you some questions. I know we're running out of time, so let's open the floor and let some of our audience member. And I'm going to repeat the question just to make sure that since we're mic'd, to get it on camera, so people go, "Why is she answering that? What was that really to?"
Okay.
So who has a question for Heidi? Anybody want to know about how she's done
Gina.
things? So the question has to do with when you took that quiet time to reassess where you're going to go with your business in this down economy, and you looked at stripping away your ego. Tell us about that process and what you did and how you made that decision.
Right. It's really hard. Gina's a fellow retailer as well. It's it's really hard to take yourself out of the equation when you are your business and you work 24/7. For me, the one thing that we didn't really have time to talk about the 18 points. One of the things that I really focused on was, okay, what do I need to do differently to make my model work better? And so I thought I had a pretty good feel for who my customer was, and we have always been a little higher end. At that moment in January of 2009, believe it or not, in the middle of face of recession, we went farther upstream. I made a very conscious decision to take what we had and put it on steroids. And so I knew, Gina, that there were people out there spending more money, and we weren't capturing that customer. And those people that had those kinds of budgets, that had those kinds of weddings, that were not coming to us, were never going to go online. And so that's where I hung my hat, and I said, okay, if there are people still getting married and spending $250,000 plus on their weddings, we weren't getting that customer was not coming to us at that particular time. So I knew that I needed to change my marketing tactics a little bit. The answer to your question about the ego thing, I just had to keep coming back to the numbers. And so it was, if I do this, what then?
I think that's a great question and a great answer. That's awesome. Who else has a question? Yes, ma'am. We'll start.
Mary, I'll share it with you over lunch.
So the question has to do about the 18 points.
Yes.
Go ahead, hit a few of those.
Well, we had to make some cuts with payroll. I had to make some cuts with supplies. We had to change our marketing plan. I decided that we weren't really targeting. There was also this movement. It's not a new movement, but we weren't capturing the green movement. So if brides were not purchasing from us because they wanted to be green, well, there are ways that you can still be green and still be lovely. And we didn't, frankly, have enough options. And so I invested $18,000, to be honest, on new products so we could target that particular customer. What else do we do? I decided we'd always, again, some of these things we'd always done, but it was more of a focus for us. I realized how important building communities in my stores would be. So building events and having events and creating partnerships were important. Partnerships have been big for me. I reach out to people like Cynthia and all of my other girlfriends to create relationships that can be meaningful and mutually beneficial. Media is also a good friend and a good partner to focus on. One of our partnerships that we started with in 2008 this is kind of a little fun story. We started bringing in Anna Post, who is the great-great-granddaughter of Emily Post, etiquette guru. And she came in, and we had to pay to get her here, and we had to have an event and those kinds of things. But because we carried her around, and I personally shuttled her around for 3 days, I really got an opportunity to meet and get to know Anna, and so we brought her in the next year. So anyway, long story short, fast forward to 2010, the Emily Post Institute decided that they wanted to go into the wedding world. They wanted to have wedding stationery. Who do you think they called as a consultant? So, you know, these relationships, you never really know where they're going to end up, but I can promise you that they're important and they're valuable.
I think
That's not 18, Mary, but that's enough.
But I think that that's a really good point. You know, I remember when Anna Post first came down here, I think she was kind of like a little overwhelmed because she met with like 3 of us. I think she did something with 3 of us, and I think it was fascinating. Etiquette today, it seems like we're more informal, but we've gotten more formal. And etiquette seems to be really, it's like the rules. I mean, I'm a rule breaker all the time. You know, that's just, you know, I see a rule and I say, what can I do to be a little sassy with that rule? But it's also that's really inherently important. And one thing I know, and for open disclosure, my niece got married, was stationed in Germany, and my sister and I went to Heidi because we really didn't know what was, because we were raised in a military family, and etiquette in the military world is very rigid and set, but we weren't sure what the rules were today for a wedding with a young bride who we actually had to Skype in. We actually had to set up a computer and then hold up, you know, invitations and say, do you like this color or this look? But we really needed consulting. We really needed consulting to pull that off.
I think etiquette really isn't about the rules. It's about a feeling, and it's just about being considerate. And, you know, it's that kind of golden rule. If you're following the golden rule of, you know, treat people the way that you'd want to be treated, then I think generally speaking, there's a few exceptions, generally speaking, you'll be okay.
That's good to know, because I called you a few times. I go, can you do this on the bridal invitation? So it was really, I thought I knew these things, but, you know, just you really need to consult. We have time for one more question. Yes, ma'am.
What about expansion plans?
Heather.
Ooh, expansion plans.
The area.
Yes and no. I have huge expansion plans. We definitely, I have goals. So in the next 3 years, I expect that you will see at least 2 more Dandelion Patch stores in the area. I expect within the next 5 years, I'll get to a point where we hopefully have some sort of national movement. And that's going to take, you know, some real big girl financing. And so whether that's a franchise model or that's private equity dollars or something, but that's absolutely our goals. And I'm not planning on getting an airplane until 5 years from now.
Now, how old will your kids be then?
Well, I've got an 11-year-old son and a 9-year-old daughter, so.
Yeah, you have to always take that in consideration when you're, you know, right now to be. I can't thank you enough. I think you've shared incredibly a little bit about etiquette, goal setting, the Heidi challenge, the Heidi 18 points. I mean, I think it's really applicable to everything we do in our life, and that's why I thought this was really an invaluable. I can't thank you enough.
You're very welcome.
For
thank
coming.
you.
And I invite everybody to go out to Georgetown to get in. They're charming. It's just one of those stores you walk in and you leave feeling good. And whenever you have that all-important gift, you know, that woman CEO or somebody you want to get something special, this is where I always go, because they just have those really special kind of things that just kind of make you stand out.
Thank you.
And I thank you. And I thank you for coming. So enjoy, get some more food, and you can come up and ask Heidi more questions. This has been wonderful. And I thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
It was wonderful. Thank you.